Hello there.
Well, welcome to Your In Depth, where we walk through and break down our favorite fictional universes. As usual, I'm Jacob, and we're going to be covering episode 19 and 20 of the Clone Wars. But first, how you doing, my Homosaurus Rex who never checks his texts?
I found some screwdrivers.
I see that. I think you should probably put those down.
Oh. Okay.
Based on previous conversations, I don't think that you should have those. Also, the way I just referred to you, have you checked your phone within the past 3 weeks? Do you see the obnoxious number of messages from me with no response?
Only 5 of them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all.
Anyway, no, so we're going to be covering the Clone Wars episodes 19 and 20. Before that, I do have a little bit of Star Wars news. And I guess since I've got 2 pieces of news, how about I say one of them, then you do one, and then I'll finish off. Yeah. The very first piece of Star Wars news that I've got is that we got a teaser trailer for the Book of Boba Fett. That is going to be streaming, I believe, December 29th, the series. And coming up soon, I believe we have the full trailer. Last I checked, it was November 12th, but I don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that it's coming up. But we did get a teaser trailer. We kind of see maybe where things are going to be going. Looks pretty neat. I'm for sure looking forward to it. But what's our second piece of news, Evan?
I don't know how new this is, but I just saw it. But it's been rumored that Ewan McGregor is going to be making an appearance in the Andor show, TV show they're coming out with. As he's supposed to make an appearance as Obi Wan in that TV show.
Oh,
so
well, that excites me.
Yeah,
I love him. And then my third one, final one, is just that it has been reported. Again, reported does not always mean it's happening. It's basically rumored at this point. But I saw a headline just said that there's a Darth Maul animated series reportedly in development. So don't know, but that'd be cool.
On that first one you had mentioned with the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
With that kind of sneak peek trailer they released, I guess through some of the bigger YouTube channels that do like Star Wars news and all that kind of stuff. They are making an educated guess, so keep that in mind, right? But they're making an educated guess that it's gonna primarily, or at least that sneak peek trailer was taking place on Tatooine.
Yeah, it did appear that way.
They were guessing, or assuming, I guess, based off of some of the artwork and locations and stuff like that were originally planned for the Phantom Menace. They are guessing or assuming, that it's actually going to take place in the capital city on Tatooine, and I'm trying to think of the name of the city now. I think it's like Bestine, something like that. The capital city of Tatooine.
Oh.
And that's their guess, their educated guess of where that at least a sneak peek of the trailer that we got. That's their educated guess of where it's going to take place.
Gotcha. Yeah. I didn't know that part, but it looks interesting. It kind of seems like Boba Fett's going to be kind of taking the throne that Jabba once had.
Yeah.
And in the trailer, he commented basically like Jabba ruled by fear. He's looking to rule by respect. I don't know. I'm excited for it. Anything with Tamara Morrison as Boba Fett or any clones, I'm pretty excited about. But anyway, I guess that's the only news that we've got right now. Other than that, I'd say let's get into the Clone Wars episode 19, Storm over Ryloth. You want to go ahead with the summary that Disney Plus provides, and then I will go ahead and read what the narrator does as a kind of setting up. I'll also do the normal quote and stuff too.
So the summary of this episode is a simple 5-word summary.
Interesting.
Anakin teaches Ahsoka a lesson. That is the summary we are given.
Okay, so very, very short summary there. The quote that it gives is, oh God, I already messed up. It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness. And just to kind of set up our episode, we do get the, good old, what's his name? The guy who is the
Admiral
narrator.
Yularen.
Well,
His
yeah, but
voice,
like the
but
actor. Tom Kane? Is that right?
I don't know. I don't have a clue.
Yeah, he had it,
I don't
but
know.
Anyway.
You keep asking me, Jacob. I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know. I don't know.
Either way, his voice, our narrator thing, it says, Planet Ryloth invaded. Subject to brutal droid occupation, the people of Ryloth are starving under the blockade of a separatist fleet. Evil separatist leader Wat Tambor now rules with an iron fist. Answering a plea from the Senate, the Grand Army of the Republic mounts a bold offensive to liberate the system. It is up to Anakin Skywalker and his Padawan Ahsoka to make way for Obi Wan's ground assault. Now, blockades of planets are not anything new that we've covered in Star Wars.
No.
There was one.
There is something to go with them, though.
Okay.
Because at least when I would watch this when I was younger and whatnot, I didn't realize why they blockaded the way that they blockade in Star Wars. So it's like, oh, they're blockading around the planet, but you can go up to the top or down to the bottom of the planet and get out that way. But no, because of the way that the galaxy is set up with their hyperspace lanes and whatnot, to blockade an entire planet, all you have to do is put your ships between the planet and the start of that hyperspace lane. And you can leave the rest of the planet unguarded because of how dangerous it is to fly without going through hyperspace.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so that was one thing that I never understood, especially when we saw it in The Phantom Menace with Naboo being blockaded. It was like, okay, they have all these battleships, but it's just around almost like one of those, the rings around like Saturn, that's all it really looks like. But why can't they just fly, up and over or down and under?
Yeah.
Well, because they have to get to the hyperspace lanes, and the blockade is specifically blocking the lane itself, not the planet.
Yeah, that makes sense, because especially when we were going through The Mandalorian, we learned that, it's generally pretty dangerous to not go through light speed or hyperspace, whatever, because of, pirates, different things that may occur. Whereas, there are dedicated hyperspace lanes that were to just, you're there. And that's the main traffic point. It's kind of like, I would say, it's like you're trying to get from town to town. The interstate runs between both of them, and the only other ways are very gravelly and sometimes shards of glass roads.
Essentially, yeah.
So it's like you could go around, but you're going to have to go here and there and turn left and right, probably pop a few tires, hit a few deer, you know how it goes, and you'll get there, maybe.
Yeah.
But obviously there's the better option, which is just go down an interstate, whereas these guys are basically blockading the exits. And
exactly, that's like you're going
down
down the interstate and you're like, man, I need to take exit 4, and you get to exit 4, but there's a semi blocking the exit. Like, well, shoot, I can't get off there. Or if you're like, okay, I need to get on the interstate at right there after exit 4 through the on ramp. There's a semi blocking it. I can't get onto the interstate here.
Yeah,
type of thing. And so like the ships when they say, just something to keep in mind for future episodes and stuff like that, when they say a faction or a group is blockading a planet, they're not blocking the planet itself, they're blocking the hyperspace lanes.
Yeah. That makes sense. Oh, goodness. That makes sense.
And that's something that I actually just learned very recently.
Yeah. Well, I just learned it now. I never thought of that, but that makes a lot of sense. Anyway, though, so we open the scene. We see the Republic. There's 3 cruisers kind of coming in, and we see an ugly guppy who is in charge of one of those big
The Looser Hulk.
The what?
Looser Hulk cruisers.
The big old things that are basically a sphere with like
Big
a
old
big
donuts.
old ring around it.
Yeah,
The big
those
donuts.
are called Looker Hulks.
I know, but not everybody knows that, so I'm saying what they look like. But donut is a very good. It's
Yeah.
like a donut with a much smaller donut hole within it.
And
Anyway,
with those two,
Mhm.
those were because they look very odd. You know, it's an odd shape for a spaceship. You know,
yeah,
especially because they have like that open part. They have that open side of it where like the
Mhm.
ships can fly in and out of. But those were originally just cargo ships that like the Trade Federation or the Commerce Guild, and those different kind of trade factions in Star Wars used to transport their cargo. And
Mm.
since war started, they just kind of recommissioned them into giant, battle cruisers that can take a beating.
I see. But this thing is saying that the Republic is going to be in for a surprise. So obviously they've kind of got a trap set. We then see over to the Republic side. We see Ahsoka is getting ready to be. It's going to be her first time commanding. Anakin's getting ready to send her out with her group. There's some clones with her, and they're going to go and basically lead the attack on this thing.
Yeah, it's not her first time being in command. It's more like her first time of being in command without Anakin being there.
Yeah.
It's her first time of being in command by herself without having someone kind of watch over and make sure she makes the right decisions.
Yeah. But anyway, with her are going to be, I believe, 5 clones, right?
So they only name a couple, but she does call it the
right.
full 2 squadrons of fighters. So you're
okay.
talking 20-ish fighters,
Yeah.
something around there.
The ones she names are Axe, Slammer, Kickback, Swoop, and Tucker. That's apparently and that's why I was asking. I didn't know if there was only 5 or if that was the only ones that they had named, but it appears that. And actually thinking back, when we actually see her head towards it, there's a lot more than just those 5. So
yeah,
that makes sense. But
those are just kind of the 5 named clones they give us in this episode.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, like there's nothing to distinguish them from other clones. Like with, Rex, like his haircut and like his armor is specified to him, or Cody, his armor and that kind of like scar or tattoo he has by his eye is specific to him. These are just kind of some clone pilots, is all they are.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, Ahsoka and her squadrons, I guess. I wrote squadron, but you said there was technically 2, right?
Yeah, so they have one squadron that's kind of like their fighter. Their fighter ships, whatever they're called. I'm trying to brain fart now. And they have a second squadron, which is their bombers. So like the fighters will go in, clear the way for the bombers to commence their bombing run.
Okay, yeah. But they are heading towards the separatists, and they're advancing on them as they approach the separatist. As they approach the separatist Epcot ball, the vulture droids are sent out to fight. They just swarm in. Enemy battle cruisers then close in as well. Anakin and Admiral Yularen demand Ahsoka turn back as it is a trap. Admiral Yularen says, he's like, did you train her not to follow orders? Because she's pretty reluctant. She's like, no, we got this. But they see a bigger picture, and they're like, no, get back here now.
She definitely gets that tunnel vision, like she's too focused on what's right in front of her, and that she doesn't see the bigger picture. Right. And she also like wants to so badly succeed and prove herself. That it's to the point where like, screw that, I'm not turning back. I can do this. Even when she's about to be surrounded and, essentially shot out of the sky. Yeah.
But the Republic, in doing this, did fall into a trap. They got pretty badly damaged. They had to end up getting out by light speed once the fighters land on board. And actually, in this attempt to get back on board, Axe, the one clone, did die. He got
Yeah.
axed. But anyway, some others I think died too. But she lost some men.
And
She is
it's not,
facing as. Go ahead.
it's not even that she lost some men. She loses almost all of her squad.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, she loses almost everybody because she decides to try and push forward even when she's told to pull back.
Yeah.
And I mean, we see some of the Republic cruisers get heavily damaged as well as they're trying to get back to the cruisers.
Yeah, these cruisers are like pretty
Yeah.
damaged. I think that
Admiral
as
Yularen gets
Yeah.
injured.
he does.
As they're standing there on the bridge, a
Mhm.
vulture droid hits the bridge and injures him.
Mm-hmm.
But and if I'm not mistaken, I gotta fast forward a little bit. One or two of their cruisers are actually at this point inoperable.
Yeah.
I think one's
one.
completely inoperable,
think-
like completely destroyed.
Yeah.
And another one
of
is heavily damaged.
that is correct because they do get into light speed and get away. But only two of them are able to do that.
Yeah.
So one of them is completely like, dunzo.
Yeah,
just,
one gets completely
like,
destroyed.
Dunyan rings like gone.
Yeah,
and then the other two one is very badly damaged, but
Yeah.
it did manage to get away.
Yeah, so they lose one full cruiser, and if I'm not mistaken, there's roughly 20,000 clones per cruiser. Something like that. So, they lose one full cruiser and all the armor and, LAAT gunships and ammunition, all that kind of stuff that goes with it.
Yeah, pocket change.
Another one of them gets heavily damaged to the point where it's about to just blow up, really.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one has minor damages, but it's still, for the most part, operational. But it all literally does come down to the fact that Ahsoka didn't listen to orders.
Yeah. Yeah. But she's obviously pretty upset about it. Kind of realizes like, I messed up here. And I want to say I think it's Anakin that says it, but kind of tells her the reality of command is that often you do lose a lot of your people.
Yeah, that's Anakin.
Yeah, but this hit Ahsoka pretty hard. We then cut to that ugly Nihoi Minoi Guppy. He says that he's wanting information on Anakin to get to know his opponent. Meanwhile, back, Ahsoka is apologizing to Admiral Yularen, who is injured and pretty well out of it. He's like laying on a table, bandaged up. He's
unconscious,
asleep.
and what I would only assume is their medical bay.
Yeah,
it
seems to me. Mm-hmm. But anyway, she's saying like, sorry to him. She's very apologetic. And then she ends up walking away, and he actually opens his eyes. So like, I don't know if he heard any of that, but it's signifying he's at least, he's all right. He's not, 100%.
Yeah, and just before that though, too, it shows Anakin and Rex talking with Obi Wan and Mace Windu, giving them an update. And Anakin has to tell them, that they lost one of their cruisers already. Another one's heavily damaged. They've lost a lot of their fighters. Like,
yeah,
they're in pretty rough shape. But he then gets told by, I believe, Mace Windu that Anakin has to break that blockade. Like, his force has been cut in half, but he has to do it. They don't have anybody else to show up there in time to reinforce him to break through. So it's either break through the blockade now, or the Twi'leks don't get their supplies that they need for another rotation.
Yeah.
A full planetary rotation. So it's not days, right? Because it's rotating around its sun and then it's rotating it by itself as well. It's the planet going all the way around, not just one day. So you're talking like a good several weeks, if not month or so, like a good amount of time. And so like now Anakin has to figure out what he's gonna do, to break through that blockade.
Yeah. Yeah. You just said my next part of the note. And actually in some of this, so I was telling Evan when I messed up something earlier, and so I omitted the like piece of audio where I was saying this, but I took these notes. Well, I mean, before we started Mandalorian, so a long time ago. What I've realized is I've gotten more in depth with what I type and what I try to narrate. I started off way back then, kind of just having a few bullet points, but I have tried to put more into what I'm reading and walking through to cover more detail and everything. But with these being old ones, I was going in and I was like making edits because I actually watched these episodes this time. And so I was adding things, and as I just found out with this, I put it in the wrong place. So like her saying that and talking to Admiral Yularen, I think that the Anakin receiving orders is either like simultaneous or right before that, but I put it after it.
Yeah.
So like
scene-wise,
I don't know. It's just
scene-wise, it's literally right before, but it could be something that's happening at the same time.
Yeah, but either way, so you stopping me and being like, well, before that, like that's probably why, honestly. But either way, it doesn't matter.
But
Anakin,
after Ahsoka talks to Admiral Yularen, it shifts over to Anakin working on one of the Republic or one of the Jedi starfighters. Just probably like doing like a tune-up, checking fluids or whatever else they have to check with their their spaceships.
Yeah, basically tune-up,
Ahsoka,
like you said. I think is right.
Ahsoka comes up and starts talking with Anakin, and he starts to tell her that she's gonna have to try again. Like she's gonna have to lead the attack again. Like this isn't over just because you failed once. And she starts to freak out. She's not. At least she doesn't think she's ready for it.
Yeah. And we cut over to the Guppy that shows that he expects Anakin's fleet to be back, as his record shows him not to be a conventional Jedi. Then we cut back and we see that a cruiser is being evacuated. That one that is like barely hanging on.
And so that evacuated. Cruiser is actually the name of that cruiser because they actually give them different names and whatnot, kind of like U.S. naval ships. But the name of this cruiser is actually the Defender.
Oh, I thought it was Jeremy. All right. Anyway,
Anakin literally briefly mentioned it right there where he was telling us, look, they had to redo it, and I just saw it. He says the Defender is being evacuated.
Yeah. But he says that Anakin says he got an idea from Ahsoka. Basically, what his plan now is, he's going to take this damaged Defender, and just crash it into the enemy's, their donut there. I'm sticking with it. But then he will get out in an escape pod and is then counting on Ahsoka to fight off the enemy's fighters and rescue him.
Yeah.
But then Anakin just is kind of like, yeah, so anyway, I'm doing that. Ahsoka, you're in charge. Bye.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, he doesn't even give her a chance to like object or anything. He just leaves.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Especially with the kind of the mindset that she's in right now. Probably not the smartest idea, Anakin.
I would
like
agree with that
she
one.
is mentally, destroyed right now. Like she lost so many of her troopers. Some of them being, her being friends with. She failed the mission. She's feeling the the guilt of failure, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, she's for sure not feeling confident.
And so Anakin just leaves her with good luck.
Like, that's like I'm just picturing that meme where it's like it's styled like a meme. You'll understand it if you've seen it before. But I'm just picturing her being like, I failed. I failed everything. I'm like, I lost men. I don't think that I can do this. I'm out. And him just being like, oh, I see. Yeah. Well, anyway. But anyway, just being like, whatever, you got it. You're fine.
But Anakin leaves, and right before he leaves, he tells the clones that he's kind of had gathered around, that Ahsoka will explain the second half of their plan after he leaves, and then just takes off, and she's just there at a loss for words. Doesn't know what to say, what to do, where to send, like, who to send where, nothing. And just tells them all to get back to work and makes her way to the bridge.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, we cut over to the Guppy, who says that he admires Anakin in a way that he would really like to defeat him. Kind of like being like those kind of like, it would be, he is basically, a worthy adversary, kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of like the whole, samurai thing, like
kinda,
one-on-one, trial by combat, an honorable defeat type of thing.
Yeah, like basically, he would get a lot of respect by defeating Anakin, and Anakin's record is fairly respectable as an enemy. So he's like, yeah, I want to. Like, he would love to defeat him.
Well, and the thing is, though, like, Anakin's record per the Republic, even up to this point, because this is still within like the first year of the war. At this point, Anakin is already the poster child of the Republic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is that accomplished already in the Clone Wars here. He's done so much and won so many victories and all this other kind of stuff that he has literally become the poster child of the Republic.
I just want to admit something super quick. I love watching this, and I feel like I do a pretty good job of just pushing out of my mind the future events. But every now and then, as we're talking like this, I'm like, man, I just get this sudden just like pit of like sadness. I'm like, oh crap. But then I just push it away, but it just keeps coming back. And then I see like TikToks with the Order 66 music, and I want to cry. It's just like it strikes something with me, man. I love the Republic. I love this era of things. I don't, I can see some flaws in the movies and stuff. Like a lot of people are like, oh, the prequels suck. The era itself, not necessarily the movies or the way it's portrayed, but how it is. I love it. And
just wait until we get to season 7, baby.
I know. Where was I?
But anyways, yeah, Mr. Guppy was kind of talking with Wat Tambor about, or Emir Wat Tambor, whatever his name is, robot dude. Him beating Anakin would give him a lot of respect, a lot of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is, but it would raise his stature. It would raise his position if he were to beat Anakin. Because Anakin is so well known. Like even people in the Separatist Alliance know who Anakin is.
Yeah.
And like kind of like how the Republic portrays like General Grievous and Count Dooku as the bad guys, right? Like the big bad guys. The Separatists portray Chancellor Palpatine and Anakin as the bad guys.
Yeah.
And so, like, if he could beat Anakin, he would just get all that respect, all that renown, and everything.
Yeah. But in comes Anakin, and he kind of patches in a communication to Guppy and says that he's offering himself as trade. Basically, he's surrendering himself so that, because this capture would mean a lot to the Separatists, he's willing to give himself over so that the blockade leaves this planet, and then they can get supplies and all that. We then cut back to Ahsoka. She is they're trying to figure out their plan of attack, and a lot of people are like, man, I don't know about your ideas, kind of thing.
Yeah.
She's presenting what she feels, but is kind of not so sure about them herself.
Because she's got Captain Rex, one who's up there with her, and another just clone officer we don't really get a name to. But she lays out her plan, and they're just like, and I wish you would have talked to me about this. We could have talked about some, maybe gone a different direction. too bad General Skywalker's not here. All this kind of stuff, like, basically undermining her right in front of,
Mm-hmm.
like, right to her face. And then they realize what they've just done and what they've said.
Yeah, and they're just like, no offense
Yeah.
there. Like, we didn't really mean that, but
Yeah, like, they realize what they've said, and they've realized kind of like the impact that it had on her
yeah.
as they said it, and it's like, oh shoot, oops, my
Yeah.
bad.
But she presents that she's like, no, I think this is the plan that we should do. And in from behind her comes in Admiral Yularen, and he's back on his feet, and he agrees with her. He's like, this is no, I think we should do that.
Yeah, because the plan that she essentially gives them is to take their last cruiser that they have, right? Because
Mhm.
Anakin's on the other one that's heavily damaged. But they're gonna turn it so the bottom of the cruiser is facing the blockade.
Mhm.
They'll have their shields raised at maximum on that bottom side of the ship, to protect their fighters and bombers as they leave the hangar, to
Yeah.
start their runs. And as the separatists kind
Basically,
of close in, they can hit those ships and bomb the crap out of them.
basically they're gonna freaking power slide that thing and drift it,
More or
and
less,
and it's gonna raise the side with more surface area as a big old shield to protect, because on the top, which actually I didn't even realize fully until this episode, the hangar and how they exit is on the top of the ship.
Yeah, so
So
they have that hanger on
in
the top, but they do have hangers on the sides as well.
and they do, but they so but by tilting it up, they basically protect all areas of exit for their own ships, so that they can get
And
out, be protected, and then deploy
yeah,
and
and
you know
also they're protecting the
go.
bridge too.
And yes,
The bridge gets destroyed, the whole ship goes down. They have no way of controlling it anymore.
right, yeah. So
But
anyway,
yeah, essentially using the bottom part of the ship as a giant shield as the fighters move into position to bomb all the frigates and whatnot that the separatists have,
hmm
as those ships close in on them, kind of like a
yep,
surprise attack, more or less.
yeah. But we go back, and the Guppy has had an analysis done on the ship, on Anakin's. And, oh, by the way, when Anakin was offering himself as trade, he was also mentioning all the people on this ship with me, kind of thing.
Yeah. He's like, I surrender myself and my ship and my crew,
hmm
to you if you'll let us, get supplies to the
yeah.
Twi'leks, essentially.
Yeah.
Um,
But he has had a analysis done on the ship, and he's realized, like, the analysis has provided the details that the power of that ship has been diverted to the front shields, reinforcing that, and there is only one life form on the ship, and that is Anakin. So Anakin's just like says basically something I want to say, like, oh, you can keep the ship though, peace out. And it just aims straight for the bridge, and he fires up the thrusters. They get going closer. Him and R2 just get out of there, get on an escape pod, go.
yeah,
But
because
as
if I'm
go
not
ahead.
mistaken, the captain of the separatist blockade says something along the lines of like, he gets told there's only one life form aboard, and so he starts freaking out a little bit, like, "What? What the heck? You lied to me!" And so Anakin's just like, "Well, in that case, peace."
Yeah, pretty much.
You can keep the ship though, as he's making his exit.
Yeah. But Anakin, yeah, the ship's going towards it. The guppy dude has bolted. The droids then are kind of all standing around, like, trying to figure out who's in charge. They're like, well, what do we do now? And figuring out what they should do. One eventually says attack. And then the big old Republic cruiser, that the Defender, crashes into the donut.
And it cracks me up too, because after the Defender crashes into the Luthor Hulk, or the donut, it jumps to Ahsoka for a quick, brief second after it shows the droids like, well, who's in charge? Who's in charge? And I think it's Rex or one of the clones radios to her and is like, Commander, they're not falling for her. She's like, just give them a second. They're a little slow. They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And so, like, sure enough, after she says that, they have 6 separatist frigates, all closing in around their ship. And I'm drawing a blank on what the name of Anakin's cruiser is called, because it does have an actual name to it, but I'm drawing a blank. The Resolute, maybe? Does that sound right?
I have no idea.
I think it's the Resolute.
Okay.
But anyways, bombers take off with the
call it Frederick.
Resolute, giving them cover as they leave the hangar, and they commence with Ahsoka's plan to outflank and outmaneuver the frigates, and the bombers just light them up.
But Guppy Duck has apparently left on an escape pod, so he's survived. He's gone. Obi Wan then arrives and is able to land on the planet as this blockade has been destroyed. He says
we see. I think it's like just one by one. At one point, it shows all those all the droid like captains of the different ships. Like shows them one by one, like disappearing as their ships get destroyed.
Yeah, because they had one droid was sitting there, and like we saw the droid, but then there was holograms around him of the other droids, and as things went on, each hologram started disappearing. So yeah, they're wiped out. But Obi-Wan arrives. Go ahead with Rex.
Yeah, Rex. But this is literally right before Obi-Wan shows up. So.
Okay.
But Rex finds Anakin's escape pod as they're in. I actually don't know the name of this starship that Rex is flying. It looks like an early version of like the Imperial. The one that we were talking about in The Mandalorian. The Imperial shuttle, where it has like the 2 wings that fold up.
Oh, yeah.
This looks like an early model of one of those.
The Lambda fighter or Lambda cruiser, whatever it is.
Something like that. This looks like an early version, early model of one of those. But Rex flies that over. It uses a small little tractor beam on it to grab Anakin's escape pod and take him back to the Resolute. Yeah.
And then Obi-Wan does arrive, and he, like I said, is able to land on the planet. But he says, he's like, I won't ask where Anakin's fleet is or why he is in an escape pod. Basically being like, I don't know what happened, but I'm not even going to ask. All right.
Jacob,
and what?
I think you're on the next episode.
I'm not.
Because Obi-Wan doesn't show up at the end of this episode.
It does.
I'll go back and double check. All right, you're right. I'm wrong. Sorry, I must skip past.
Sorry,
it.
what was that?
Hurry.
What'd you say?
I said you're an idiot. That's what I said.
That's not what you said. I got it on recording. Anyway,
that's my bad. I skipped past it to try and
it's
catch
fine.
up with where you were at.
It's a very short kind of scene anyway.
Yeah.
So if you are skipping ahead, it's probably like 2 taps of the screen and you're past it.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's like, yeah, he's Ahsoka says that is probably for the best that he doesn't ask, and then the episode ends. But anyway,
I was gonna say, because I got to the ending and I was like, wait, I haven't seen Obi-Wan yet. What are you talking about, Jacob?
Anyway, so now we are in our the middle of our 2 episodes. So as part of our little intermission here, sponsor break. So say hello to this sponsor. And coming on back, let's get into episode 20, titled Innocence of Ryloth. Or Ryloth. Where's the emphasis lay on that?
Ryloth. Yeah.
Ryloth.
And so the little summary of it that we get from Disney Plus is Obi-Wan and a small clone force take on a powerful droid cannon. Which is a little misleading because it's multiple cannons, but regardless.
Anyway, and then the quote says, the costs of war can never be truly accounted for. Then we
yeah, whatever. Civilian casualties.
You know.
War crimes and whatnot.
I think it was you. I'm going to jot this down because it's probably not something that should stay in a normal episode. Anyway. Going back. So,
but that's the quote that we get for the episode.
And then we get Admiral Yularen, or our narrator, starting off kind of setting up the stage. I want to start including that because it does sometimes, it's not one episode right after the other kind of thing. There's a little bit of setup in between, so I will include that part.
But I mean, first, some of that we just get the brief accounts of what happened last episode. And then we get a little more information here of the people of Ryloth, or the Twi'leks, are, being subjugated, being, essentially put into slavery, put into prison camps, all that kind of stuff.
The exact thing that it says is invasion. Separatist leader Wat Tambor has taken control of the planet Ryloth and subjugates its people through a brutal droid occupation. In a daring surprise attack, Jedi Anakin Skywalker, emphasis was wrong on that, Jedi Anakin Skywalker and his Padawan, Ahsoka Tano, defeated the space blockade guarding the planet, which we saw last time. Now, Jedi Generals Mace Windu and Obi Wan Kenobi lead a massive invasion to liberate the starving people. So, there's our setup. Basically, the...
And I wanted to say, too, and I didn't say it for our coverage of the last episode, but Wat Tambor, some people might not have realized it, but we actually have seen him before. You see him briefly in Attack of the Clones, Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, on Geonosis, when they have all the Separatist leaders there, right before they do the whole thing with Anakin and Padme and Obi-Wan in the arena and whatnot. If you look in kind of in the background, you can see him back there.
Yeah. Well, we open the scene and Obi-Wan is setting off to meet the natives. He's, meeting the Twi'leks. Prisoners are being used as living shields because the Separatists know that the Jedi won't risk a direct assault on them. So they're basically keeping them all there, being like, human shield, whatever.
Yeah.
Human shield, whatever.
Commander Cody and Obi-Wan are kind of briefing the clones as they're on their LAT gunships coming into land to start their attacks. And Cody even says, since the population is being used as shields, minimal detonations with blasters and droid poppers only. So, no rockets, no grenades, no high explosives, 'cause they're not trying to hurt the civilians.
Right.
Just to clarify that to the rest of the clones, has to make sure he says it, because otherwise some stupid clone is going to go out there and throw a grenade in the middle of all of the civilians, and that's not a good thing. JK, it's a good thing.
Debatable. Some of the clones are referring to the natives as tailheads. Kind of sounds a little bit racy, but we've heard it before.
Yeah.
Big ships kind of back off as cannons fire. Gunships, there's some gunships still land. I don't think that made any sense. Like I said, my notes are bare because I made this before.
What you're referring to there is after the gunships have launched and they're going in for their landing and whatnot. We actually have I think they're called Acculator cruisers, which is basically like they're the landing cruisers for like invasions and stuff like that the Republic uses. Because they used the ones we saw last episode. They used those primarily for space battle. These ones are like their landing crafts. Carries all of their armor, their weapons, troops, all that kind of stuff. But the Separatists have anti-air cannons down on the planet, and they start shooting up at these cruisers. So they have to move back to a safe distance. So at this point, Obi-Wan's stuck with the troops he has because they can't risk losing these cruisers and losing all of the personnel and whatnot that they have on them. So they have to get those back until those cannons are taken out of commission.
Okay. But some clones move by foot, advancing on the area. Droids already expect this as kind of part of their plan, though. I just have random bolded names, but I believe they're different. Oh, because I was making a list of like the different known clone names and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's irrelevant right now. Obi Wan helps the clones in throwing their EMP things. Again,
yeah. They're droid poppers, is the Star Wars name for them.
Okay. But then Obi-Wan seeks kind of to know what the droids have in store for the Twi'leks.
Yeah.
And sends out some scouts.
Well, essentially what happened here, because I feel like it kind of missed it. The droids have set up this big old wall to block the entrance into town.
Mm-hmm.
And so they needed the droid poppers, or like their little EMP things, to take out some stationary guns they had up there, pinning all the clones down. And so that's what Obi-Wan is helping. He's using the Force to help get those droid poppers all the way up to the top of this wall, to take out those sentry guns, essentially. And so after they finally take down the sentry guns, the rest of the clones all push up and continue their attack. It goes back to the droids. It shows like one of those strategy droids getting briefed by just a plain old battle droid, like, "Hey, we're being attacked by clones." That's all he says. But it jumps back to Obi-Wan, with Rex, and they've secured their position. And then Cody has Boyle and Waxer, two of his troopers, kind of scout out ahead and see what the droids have in store.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we follow them for a little while. They come across a city that has been evacuated. They were kind of forced to leave. We then end up coming across a child, a tailhead. They end up giving her some food, because why? But anyway, she follows them a bit. I think she even bit one of them.
Yeah, and it does jump back to Cody for a brief second too, as he's kind of confirming that they're using Twi'leks as human shields, and he actually refers to another clone that's sitting there with Cody as Wooly. Never picked up on that one before, but it's probably a useless, not important clone. So
probably, but I feel like any time that there's quite a bit of clones named, a couple of them are going to die. So I'm very skeptical through this episode. But anyway, they gave the kids some food. She follows them a bit. Droids have been starving some different creatures so that they will attack the clones, as they require organic meat.
As the intel droid calls it.
Mm-hmm. Now, I have this written right here, but I don't recall who said it or if it was just an assumption, but I have written, sympathy and compassion can be the greatest weakness.
If anyone said it, I would say it's kind of like the strategy droid. Probably. Would be talking, because at one point he sends out their droid probes or scouts, and it records Obi-Wan planning their attack with Cody. And that's when the intel droid is like, "That's Obi-Wan Kenobi," and he's like, "We'll use the Twi'leks against them." Would be my assumption. Yeah. That's why you wrote that down.
Maybe. Anyway, but they continue along, and the kid's with them. The kid ends up kind of leading them to her old home, before her town was turned into Haiti. but the kid starts crying. I have the note, aw, kick it, right there. That commander lead droid thing. I just said he needs to melt because I hate those droids so much. Again, I'm like I said, don't know what some of these notes mean because it has been a while.
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna be
did
honest, you're kind of
adjust
confusing
some
me
of
with
them.
some of your notes.
Yeah. All right. Why don't
I'm
you just
jumping past a lot of stuff.
yeah? Why don't you just go ahead and narrate it? Kind of help us walk through, and I'll touch on things that I made notes on.
Okay.
The last episode, I did a decent job at
Yeah.
throwing things together, but
Say,
with this
last
one,
episode there was only maybe one or two different things, and that was it. But
Mhm.
I'm really confused of where you're at with your notes per the episode right now.
You want my honest kind of viewpoint for this thing? I don't even have a visual of these words. I'm flying blind.
Okay, so
not entirely blind, but like yeah.
I'm gonna rewind it back to we see the intel droid go over to those creatures that he has had the droids starve, right? Up until this point, Waxer and Boyle have gone out to scout ahead. They found the child, and the child's kind of following them as they make their way through town. It shows the intel droid with some plain old battle droids. They're at the cages where those creatures are being held, and they kick one of the battle droids into the cage to see if these creatures are hungry enough yet. It starts kind of chewing on the droid a little bit and then spits it out.
Also,
and that's when...
if I can take a quick aside, I remember why this is the way that it is. So I started watching episode 19 earlier, and it was going on, and I was taking my notes, and I was looking, not taking my notes, but I was going through what I had already taken, and I was adding to it and stuff. And then episode 20 came around, and I'm like, I'm going to play some Space Engineers. So I was barely paying attention.
Oh, boy.
I made a cool space base, though.
So, Waxer and Boyle continue making their way through town with the little kid, following behind them. And she kind of sneaks up on them and then runs past them down one of the streets. And they had seen a recon droid earlier heading in the direction she is now running. And so they're like, well, we can't just leave her. She's gonna die if we don't do something. So they go after her to, to try and protect her. And that's when what we can only assume, right, was her home before the droids showed up on Ryloth. And she's sitting there all sad and whatnot. Waxer and Boyle take a minute to kind of rest. And one of them finds a little doll that he then hands to her, kind of like a little teddy bear that a little kid might have, essentially.
Yeah, like, here you go. This will comfort you from, well, likely, everything biting the dust. Or rather, turning to dust.
Well, tomato, potato. But it jumps back to Obi Wan and Rex, and they're starting to get worried because they haven't heard from Waxer or Boyle yet. And they're supposed to, report in a while back. And so they aren't, it's kind of like, well, what the heck happened to them? But it's getting to the point where, Obi-Wan has to start his attack run, has to start pressing his attack. Time has come type of deal. Droids release the weird animals, whatever they're called, the disgusting two-legged beetle-looking things.
I'm gonna name him Randall.
Droids release the Randalls. It jumps back to Waxer and Boyle with their little, comm systems going off of Commander Cody trying to contact them. And so they start getting ready to leave, and the little kid follows them. It then jumps back to Anakin. Or sorry, why do I keep saying Anakin? It jumps back to Obi Wan and Cody with their clones, and those Randalls show up and start attacking the clones.
Attack of the Clones? No, we're going through the Clone Wars.
Gosh dang it! I knew I was in the wrong part somewhere.
Yeah, this didn't sound. I mean, this just didn't sound familiar to me.
It then jumps to Waxer and Boyle, where one of those weird Randall things is trying to get at them, and they're holding the door shut in that house they're in. And the little kid shows him a little kind of like a underground way out of the house, right as those creatures get into the house. Jumps back over to Obi-Wan and Cody, fighting the Randalls still. Some of the clones getting just trampled by them. Jumps over to this one has a lot of jumping. Holy crap.
Yeah.
It goes to the strategy droid, whatever it's called. I keep calling them strategy or intel or something like that. But if I say strategy droid or intel droid, it's the same dude. Okay. But he gets a call from Wat Tambor, and he's like, the clones are attacking. They've got depleted numbers. The chance of success is 742 to 1. And he's, Wat Tambor's like, well, you better be right. We can't lose this planet. The typical, war stuff. Got to hold our checkpoints, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Then it goes back to Obi-Wan, and he starts using the Force to kind of influence these creatures while the clones are trying to fight him. And it honestly almost seems like their clones, their blasters aren't doing anything to these creatures, which is kind of weird. But Obi-Wan starts using the Force, and he starts influencing these creatures and backs them into kind of like an alleyway, and then has the clones shoot the bridge that's going over to trap the creatures in there when he uses the Force jump to get out.
It's basically like they're surrounded by rock walls.
Yeah.
And there's a small little, section, kind of like a strip, resembling an alleyway that Obi-Wan has led the animals, the Randalls, into. Yeah. And then there's a little land bridge up above that the clones shoot. It falls down and seals off that little area.
And I'm honestly not sure if that's just part of if that's like two walls of some of the houses that the Twi'leks use, or if it's just a natural thing that was there, or if they carved it out.
Yeah.
I can't really tell from what we see here.
Honestly, I mean, the piece above looks like a bridge. Like they may have carved it out or something. It does look kind of like that, but don't know.
Yeah, but from what you can tell on a cartoon show, it also kind of looks like it was just kind of a natural thing that was there too, which is kind of weird. But Obi-Wan, has the clones shoot that bridge, traps them in there, uses the Force jump to get out. Those creatures are trapped behind the rubble. And as they start to continue on their way towards the cannons, like a sewer grate starts to get moved, and all the clones, aim at it. And Waxer and Boyle come climbing out of it with the little kid, right behind them.
Mm-hmm.
It jumps back over to the droids, reporting that the clones have beaten the. What are those creatures called? They just said it. Let me see if I can get the name for them.
Randall, dude.
No, the droid literally just said the clones have defeated the creatures. That's all he said.
I would have crapped myself if it said Randalls. So I just want to point that
out. But the strategy droid says, yeah, well, but their numbers are thin. They don't have a whole lot of troopers left. So he has his droids get in position for a final assault that these few clones are going to have to do.
Mm-hmm.
The little girl starts kind of trying to get their attention and tells Obi Wan that she can lead them through the tunnels to kind of outflank the droids and get the jump on them. So Obi Wan has Cody take the majority of the clones and do a frontal attack as a diversion, while he, Waxer and Boyle move through the tunnels to get behind the droid position. They cut, Obi-Wan cuts down a couple droids as they come into that little area where the prison cells were, where the creatures were being held before they were released. And kind of, peeks up to see what's going on. Again, we get that visual of all the Twi'leks being used as human shields in front of and around the cannons. Cody starts his attack with his few troopers to distract all the droids. As Obi-Wan, Wax, and Boyle start cutting down the droids that are around the cannons. It's a little bit of a fight scene here, so I'm not going to get too into it.
Mm-hmm. How many shots were fired over this scene?
17,423.
Dear Lord. One of them got an E-web?
No. So during this whole fight that's going on now is Cody's attacking with a frontal assault. Obi-Wan's getting down, behind enemy lines. A droid reports to the strategy droid that the prisoners are being freed, so he moves back to see what's going on and sees Obi-Wan freeing them all. As the prisoners start to escape down that tunnel that we see Obi-Wan, Waxer, and Boyle and the kid come through, we see what we can assume is her father. Sees her and picks her up, and hooray, they've been united. Gross.
My note for that was little girl gets reunited with her father, I think. Tailhead Jared from Subway? Probably not.
But after she kind of gets reunited with her father and he picks her up and hugs her and whatnot, Obi-Wan has Waxer and Boyle follow him over to one of the cannons. And Obi-Wan gets up on in the chair there and starts to aim it while Waxer and Boyle start loading the canisters. And he uses that cannon to take out the other cannons. As they're fighting, one of the cannons that they shoot at fires as well, right as Obi-Wan fires his. And so both the cannons get taken out, but Waxer and Boyle get blown to the ground. A little girl goes running out there to check on him because I guess she somehow feels very attached to them now over the course of 3 hours. I don't know.
Maybe she's got some derivative of Stockholm Syndrome. I don't know.
That is some fast Stockholm Syndrome, man. Like, Stockholm Syndrome typically takes, years to happen.
I don't know, man.
That is some fast Stockholm Syndrome.
Dude, somebody tells me what to do, I'll call him daddy right then.
Oh, man. But then we see the prisoners, come charging out, and they start attacking the security droid. They pull him out of the tank that he's sitting in and just start tearing him apart.
Oh, they freaking
literally
pull on Omar Gaddafi, that dude.
Yeah, pull off his head, his arms.
Oof.
And I can only think back to, and I know I'm not sure, I don't think you've seen it. It's in the second season of Game of Thrones. During one of the episodes, this angry mob gets a hold of a priest and literally rips his arm off, and they hold it up in the air in triumph. And that's where my head goes when I see this.
Well, these things did tear him apart. They were they physically pulled him apart. But he's a robot, so
Yeah,
But.
And as they finally pull his head off, we see those Acculator assault landing ships come down, and we see all the troopers unloading with their ATTs, and we see Mace Windu come out to congratulate Obi-Wan for completing his mission.
Yeah, and
gonna talk about what what's next for their plan.
Right.
For the planet. And then shows Waxer and Boyle saying goodbye to the little girl.
Mm-hmm.
And she runs up and gives them both a hug. And again, some weird Stockholm syndrome going on here.
Yeah, she kisses him.
Like,
And
then she starts waving to him and starts saying Nara.
yeah,
And
she's
they
been
ask
saying
Obi-Wan,
that for a while also.
Yeah. And so Waxer and Boyle ask Obi-Wan what she's calling them or what she's saying, and he says that it means brother.
Oh, I must have got a different translation.
Yeah.
Yeah. This whole time I thought it meant
Oh man. So
okay. So obviously that was a joke, but that would be freaking funny if she's just this whole time being like Nara, and then like eventually they're like, what does that mean? Does it mean brother? And Obi-Wan's like, nah, man, it means like it's like something like really, really insulting or something. Or it's like this whole time she's been calling you guys two babies. I don't know.
But anyways, to finish out the episode, we see Waxer and Boyle turn and wave goodbye to her as they continue on with the rest of the troopers and, to get ready for the next mission for liberating Ryloth.
Yeah.
Then we get credits.
Yep. End of episode. So, there's episode 20 of the Clone Wars, season 1. This podcast episode, there's 19 and 20. Next time, we will be covering, more than likely, next podcast episode will probably be 21 and 22. And does that wrap up season 1?
Yeah, so 21 will continue on this 3 episode
Ryloth. You did mention that.
arc.
Okay.
But yeah, 21 and 22 will end out this season of Clone Wars.
Yep.
But again, just to reminder, like 21 is part of the same story of 19 and 20. It's the kind of continuation ending of the liberation of Ryloth.
Right. And yeah, so next time will probably be that. Next time, that's what we're covering next for Star Wars regardless. Sometime soon here we'll get into the second Lord of the Rings movie as well, if you're watching the podcast episodes in order. But yeah, that's we just covered that, and next time we'll wrap up season 1. But I suppose if you guys want to support us and get some early access content as well as some uncensored content, exclusive kind of voting stuff and all that kind of thing, make sure to head on over and become a patron at the link in the description. If you would like to have another blooper reel, go ahead and keep the downloads coming. Share with your friends, because every 1,000 downloads we will release a blooper reel. And then, Evan, your little piece of information.
Every 25 Apple reviews will be a live stream on whatever couple episodes we're covering for that, recording session or whatever part of a film we're on at that time. As I've said almost every time, and I'll say it again, it's on you guys. If you guys want that, spread the word, leave reviews, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So, but 25 reviews is what we're looking for our first live stream coverage.
Right. But other than that, I guess we will see you guys next time.
Peace.
Deuces.